Khenpo Sodargye, who is from China, in fact, from Sichuan in China, from a Tibetan autonomous region in Sichuan, and who is a representative of what one may call modern humanitarian Buddhism. So we have had this morning a long conversation about what that is. That was so long that I'm not going to repeat it again. But definitely there is the usual problem and negotiation about being in tune with canonical literature, with the canon of Buddhism, so with tradition and the modern requirements of today's life. And his position is that culture and society are changing over time, but that in principle the ideas of Buddhism remain the same, so that one can actually find answers from the canon for modern situations, and that is what one needs to do. So he's not a conservative who wants to just deny all the new things of society. He is not a politician. On the other hand, he doesn't want to sit in a cave. He happiness himself. He wants to engage, but definitely on the grounds of his reading and interpretation of the Buddhist canon. The way he does that seems to be rather successful. He has 1 million followers. I never know what that actually means, because on Facebook all kinds of people have a lot of followers. But I do believe, but 1 million in China is of course different from 1 million in Holland. So, but definitely he has a large following, and as you will see during the talk, he's a very amiable man. So there is something which should definitely also be the case, is conveyed through his personality. So I'm very happy to have him here, and I look forward to hearing more about his views. He has been brought here by Densmai, who is a senior research fellow in our institute, and works on Tibetan Buddhism, and who will be translating from various languages.
Before Khenpo starts, he permits 30 seconds I can speak. My purpose of bringing Khenpo here is that our anthropological careers so much depend on our ethnographic constituencies. They mostly in the background. And my purpose is to bring them to the foreground, let them tell their own stories. Here's 30 seconds.
First of all, I would like to express my sincere thanks to Professor Fan and the team of scientific researchers. Today we are here to discuss together the modernity of Tibetan Buddhism in China, this very topic. I myself am also truly very happy about this indeed. I should say that I am someone who has been engaged in Buddhist studies for a significant period of time, over many years. I'm a Tibetan monk, and I use Chinese to research and study Chinese Buddhism. And at the very same time, I diligently use the Tibetan language to profoundly study the intricate teachings of Tibetan Buddhism. For many years, I have also always had a great interest in Western natural sciences and also in the social sciences, which have always fascinated me. This is not something that just started recently, but should be said to have begun as early as 20 years ago. Back then, I also diligently read many insightful papers and comprehensive books by esteemed scholars and brilliant scientists from both the East and the West on these profound subjects. At the same time, I have also reflected on related issues, such as the profound concept of peace, the fundamental meaning of life, and various other significant issues that humanity currently needs to address and resolve. I have given these matters a lot of thought as well. Moreover, in different settings, I have also had many extensive and meaningful exchanges with several distinguished scholars. this very morning, together with the esteemed Professor Peter Fan, who is a highly respected scientific researcher, and myself, participating as a dedicated Buddhist scholar, we engaged in a productive discussion. We also had a series of exchanges on Eastern religions and Western science and technology. We engaged in a series of detailed discussions on these important topics. During the course of our exchange, some pertinent questions and insightful answers inevitably arose, which we may thoughtfully leave for future opportunities to discuss. Personally, I have truly benefited a great deal from this experience. I would like to express my special thanks here. The main purpose of my trip this time is purely for Buddhist and academic research and study. I myself approach this with a desire to learn from many scientists' theories and ideas from various fields. At the same time, I also wish to impart my own humble and valuable insights into the profound teachings of Buddhism, so that we can truly exchange ideas and learn profoundly from each other. With this particular mindset, I came to Germany this time. After arriving in Germany, I truly felt that this is a very special place where many influential philosophers were born and developed their groundbreaking thoughts and ideas. It is an extraordinary holy land. I was quite amazed by this holy land. This morning I also asked about it. What surprised me greatly is that such a small place like Göttingen, a place like this, including the Max Planck Institute, has indeed produced more than 40 Nobel Prize winners. To my vivid imagination, I truly felt a profound sense of utter amazement and remarkable rarity. But later I thought about it more. The rigorous and precise thinking of the German people has, I must say, made tremendous contributions to the scientific field of human society. They have made truly enormous contributions. I firmly believe that in the foreseeable future, this remarkable place will undoubtedly continue to foster and produce a multitude of exceptionally creative and innovative scientists who will possess profound significance and make truly impactful contributions. Yesterday, Professor Fan also mentioned this particular regional characteristic. There is an author, he wrote a book called Sacred. In this book, there is some connection with the mountains of Tibet. In my own personal opinion, in Tibet, the revered birthplace of Tibetan Buddhism, the geographical area is actually not very large, but there, in that sacred land, without any exaggeration or overstatement, looking back through history since ancient times and indeed throughout the ages, there have also been many profound Buddhist thinkers and exceptionally talented individuals. For example, Tibetan Buddhism is broadly divided into several distinct schools, one of which is the ancient Nyingma school, prominently represented by Longchenpa. Then there is the prominent Gelug school with its esteemed master Tsongkhapa, the esteemed founder, the esteemed Sakya school with its prominent leader Sakya Pandita. There's also the Jonang school with Dolpopa and the Kagyu school with the Karmapa. These people could be considered equivalent to Germany's, for example, influential thinkers like Nietzsche and others. For instance, the philosopher Nietzsche and so on and so forth. Their truly profound humanistic spirit can absolutely be compared. In my opinion, their rigorous thinking and spirit of learning share certain notable similarities with each other. For me personally, regarding Buddhism, I should say I've been deeply focused on studying since I became a monk. Mainly since 1987, I have been diligently researching Chinese Buddhism and teaching the Dharma to its devoted followers. Since 1987, it has now been more than 20 years. During this entire process, it should be clearly said that Tibetan Buddhism in its essence. Because today you want to understand the modernity of Tibetan Buddhism in the Han regions of China today. Tibetan Buddhism, as it spread throughout the Han regions, it should be said, played a significant role. Is being widely understood by a great many people indeed. Many are studying it systematically. Recently, probably in the past 2 years, since the year 2010, a significant period has passed, marking the beginning of this particular era. I have also visited many prominent universities located in the Han regions, such as the highly regarded Peking University and the equally distinguished Tsinghua University, the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, the Chinese University of Hong Kong and the University of Hong Kong, as well as Fudan University in Shanghai and so on. I've interacted with many professors. If I count the universities I visited some time ago, someone asked me about this. I did the math, and there are 41 universities in Han regions that I've visited. There are also universities like Qinghai Normal University and so on, which are Tibetan universities. There are about 40 Han universities. There are approximately 40 Han universities across the country, and their profound understanding of Tibetan Buddhism, coupled with their immense enthusiasm for the study and practice of Tibetan Buddhism, is evident among both the dedicated teachers and the eager students within these institutions. Is quite prevalent in every department. Within Han communities, Buddhism not only inspires great passion among its devoted followers, but more importantly, it also serves as a significant influence. Nowadays, among many prominent universities and esteemed intellectuals, they are especially eager to deeply study or comprehensively learn about the profound teachings of Tibetan Buddhism. Of course, a very small number of academic institutions and traditional schools are relatively conservative in their approach. Not very open-minded, but I think some of these attitudes will also gradually become more open. The world's thirst for knowledge is met with a profound spirit of genuine inclusiveness and widespread acceptance. This perspective is entirely reasonable and indeed quite understandable. Moreover, it is important to note that Tibetan Buddhism today, in its contemporary form, is very well suited to the psychology of modern 21st century people. People are now learning about it through the internet and through television, and through the utilization of various other highly advanced scientific tools and sophisticated methodologies. For example, it was not very long ago, specifically I believe it was on the 6th day of this current month, on the scenic road from Frankfurt to the charming city of Göttingen, I just casually posted this video, a very short and insightful story from Tibetan Buddhism on the social media site Weibo. Just as Professor Fan, a respected academic, previously mentioned and discussed in his remarks about Weibo, the popular social media platform, I thoroughly checked it just yesterday, and everything appeared to be in order. And it had accumulated a significant total of over 14.8 million views. There were more than 60,000 shares, a truly impressive figure, and probably well over 10,000 comments, indicating a substantial amount of engagement. But this is just a very simple yet profound story drawn from the rich traditions of Tibetan Buddhism. In China, I believe, because I posted it in Chinese, most of the readers should be Chinese. This was on Sina Weibo, a very popular microblogging platform in China. Everyone can look it up as well. It's not that we're making any claims at all. From this dot, we can also clearly see that in actual practice, many esteemed scholars and learned practitioners of Tibetan Buddhism utilize such profound methods to widely disseminate and propagate their ideas. During the ongoing process of this crucial dissemination, many people are accepting these ideas and many people are interested in them. Why is it that nowadays so many modern people, mainly Han Chinese, are interested in Tibetan Buddhism? This is how I see it. First, Tibetan Buddhism is quite practical when it comes to applying it.
Because nowadays, people may not place much importance on theoretical or historical superiority. What people really focus on now is what they need. What is it that people today especially emphasize? About 10 years ago,
I conducted face-to-face interviews with 125 Chinese university students with at least a bachelor's degree, each of whom I interviewed and surveyed individually. I personally interviewed and thoroughly surveyed every single person. Then I compiled the survey results, including why they believe and why they study Tibetan Buddhism. I recorded the reasoning behind this. Later, I meticulously compiled it into 2 books, aptly called Waves in the Ocean of Wisdom. It totaled well over 500,000 words. At the same time, I also extensively interviewed 20 doctoral students, conducting interviews with them as well. Why do they want to study Buddhist teachings, especially as intellectuals? The complete transcripts of the 20 in-depth doctoral interviews were compiled and organized into a book, which was titled Interviews with Doctoral Students. This substantial publication was approximately 55,000 words in length. After I completed the demanding task of writing these 2 books, I carefully observed their individual mindsets and approaches. And what did I conclude? Because nowadays, many people often feel a sense of being lost, and material things don't necessarily bring you true and lasting happiness. What is needed is a religion for the inner self. So in the end, In order to relieve their spiritual suffering, ultimately, they turn to the spiritual path of Buddhism. There's another point regarding why they are particularly interested in Buddhism, especially Tibetan Buddhism. What is the reason for their interest? As everyone knows, people nowadays are especially fond of fast food culture. This is primarily because people are very busy with their work during the day, and they often have limited time for preparing elaborate meals. It seems like in Germany you have a more relaxed pace, but that's not the case in mainland China. People work desperately every day, sometimes even for often more than 10 hours a day, and they still have to work overtime. It's especially exhausting. And then there are all kinds of inner confusion. Swing, including overtime, being exhausted from work, which eventually leads to depression and autism. This phenomenon is very common. At such times, Buddhism offers them a very quick way to resolve the afflictions and suffering within their own minds. Some of them often come to visit our Buddhist institute. After visiting, they immediately gain a new perspective on life and living. They develop a renewed and deeper understanding. They all truly feel that, besides the mere pursuit of financial gain and material wealth, there is also another profound kind of spiritual happiness and inner contentment. For many individuals, in a remarkably very short period of time, it brings a sense of happiness to their hearts. In my opinion, this should also be one of the significant benefits that modern Buddhism offers to everyone, providing a sense of peace. And another key perspective of Buddhism is this. In Tibetan Buddhism, its truth has never been restricted by religion, nor is it naturally limited by any specific set of rules. Its truth must be something that many people arrive at through repeated debate and exploration. So, in the ongoing process of actively seeking the absolute truth, one should not indeed fear others raising even sharp questions to challenge you in any way. When we are faced with others' convincing challenges and intellectual pressure that seek to overcome our viewpoint, if you cannot provide a reasonable answer, then Buddhism also clearly says that you should not accept it. There is a concept in Buddhism, I will not reject other religions outside my own, nor will I praise my own Buddhism excessively. As long as it is the truth, then this profound truth can be fully and completely acknowledged. This significant issue, one could certainly say, according to the rules of Tibetan Buddhism, whether in monasteries or other research settings, they are indeed not afraid of others pointing out their faults. If the criticism is reasonable, then when others point out their shortcomings, they are truly willing to accept it and make necessary adjustments. If it is unreasonable, they will also refute others with very sufficient reasons. In terms of their openness of mindset, Tibetan Buddhism is not just now beginning to truly have such an open and accepting attitude. It should be said that throughout its very long and extensive history, it has always maintained a very inclusive and expansive mindset. This particular kind of mindset, I have observed that nowadays among some so-called very open-minded and progressive intellectuals may not even have fully demonstrated it yet. The theoretical system of Tibetan Buddhism is very rigorous and profoundly comprehensive. It truly cultivates so-called higher-level geshes and khenpos, who have reached such an advanced and elevated level of Buddhist scholarship and understanding. It requires a very long time, over 20 years or 10 years, and there are different levels. It demands many years of intensive training and education before one can acquire such a respected degree or title. Moreover, the method of cultivation is also through very diligent study. Only after this can one truly begin. In my own personal opinion, nowadays, some of these religions truly exist solely in terms of rituals and their associated names. But Tibetan Buddhism, why has it become so popular and widely embraced in various Western countries, as well as within the predominantly Han regions of China, attracting a significant following and interest? In fact, there is a clear reason for this situation. It should be because their talents are truly outstanding and exceptionally remarkable. In terms of wisdom, they possess profound insight and extensive knowledge. They possess a remarkably broad, profoundly deep, and thoroughly comprehensive insight into various subjects. They also demonstrate genuine and unlimited compassion for all living beings across the world, showing care for every sentient creature, and they have a sense of responsibility for the entire world. They possess this kind of mindset. Because of these causes and conditions, I personally believe that Tibetan Buddhism is not merely a simple form of Qigong, nor is it just a fleeting, temporary trend. I genuinely do not perceive it in that particular manner. It's not that it just happens to be popular for the moment. So many people are willing to accept it, and after a while it will fade away. I don't think that's the case. Many people are actually seeking it on the level of truth. That's truly why they are drawn to the spiritual teachings of Tibetan Buddhism. In the ongoing process of Tibetan Buddhism spreading widely and extensively in the Western world, it has remarkably not encountered significant obstacles or resistance from Christianity or other established religions. Similarly, in its broad and extensive dissemination within the Han regions, where there have long been Taoism and Confucianism, among others, these have not posed any significant hindrance either. It should be clearly stated that Tibetan Buddhism and any other religion in the world are completely harmonious. This, in my own personal view, is a crucial point. This is also a significant trend in the development of the world. In fact, the entire world not only needs continuous scientific development and groundbreaking technological inventions, but at the same time, people also profoundly need to cultivate their inner religious and spiritual lives, fostering a deep sense of purpose and connection. If this essential aspect is lacking, and we rely solely on science for restraint, things may only get worse as we go forward. For a period of time, people thought material things were very important. There was a time when people thought material things seemed to be everything. But in the end, they will return to their religion, return to their faith. This is also an inevitable and fundamental law of human nature. While Tibetan Buddhism is widely welcomed and embraced all over the world, I have also noticed that there are some individuals and groups who unfortunately take advantage of Tibetan Buddhism, including various fake lamas and self-proclaimed living Buddhas that frequently appear in many Han regions, and some individuals who are not true Buddhist masters at all, but rather use this esteemed title to deceitfully scam unsuspecting people out of their money. At the same time, I have seen this in Hong Kong and in the United States as well, where some people are seen wearing traditional Tibetan Buddhist robes, but in reality, what they teach is not Tibetan Buddhism at all, and so on. These kinds of discouraging phenomena. But in my own personal view, I believe these are not the faults of Buddhism itself. These actions should be considered individual and personal faults. Because of the isolated bad actions of a few individuals, we cannot justly blame or condemn an entire religion. In your field, as scientists, the inventions and truths of science are fundamentally correct. However, if practitioners fail to utilize these scientific discoveries skillfully, or if they apply these principles inappropriately, such misapplication, misuse becomes not merely a possibility, but rather an inevitable phenomenon. Just like in the past, Einstein, his inventions originally, later led to the devastating nuclear weapons that were used in the tragic World War II. However, his original intention was not like that at all. He later deeply regretted his involvement as well. But this was not the fault of science itself. It should be considered the fault of certain people at that time. In the same way, we also have to admit that there are some people in Buddhism who commit fraud, but that is their personal fault. I do not think it is the fault of Buddhism, which is a profound and ancient philosophy. Furthermore, in reality, Buddhism is a deeply compassionate and peaceful spiritual path. It's what should be called a profound and comprehensive science dedicated to the intricate study of the human mind. This intellectual pursuit includes the notable psychologist Carl Jung from back in the day, who, after carefully obtaining the ancient and spiritually significant Tibetan Book of the Dead, gave a detailed and insightful evaluation of Tibetan Buddhism, a subject that you may already be quite familiar with. In the end, he profoundly stated that this remarkable book became a truly lifelong and cherished friend to him, one that he never parted with throughout his life. Some time ago, when I was in the United States, some university professors also mentioned that at that particular time, Carl Jung, the renowned analytical psychologist and another truly great master of Tibetan Buddhism, the complete transcript of their conversation, also introduced some of its content. Overall, the happiness within our hearts should actually be something people can find a way to understand for themselves. But for many people, they may not have found this method before. After conducting so many years of dedicated research, I personally believe with genuine conviction that Buddhism truly is especially meaningful and remarkably valuable in our daily lives and overall human experience. From an overall perspective, I believe that people around the world today, whether they are from the East or the West, should need education for the mind. But this kind of spiritual education is very hard to find in other fields. Many current scientific studies and research endeavors rely heavily on continuous experiments, repeated testing, and ongoing exploration and investigation, using all kinds of instruments to make judgments about external material things. And in very recent times, humanity has achieved certain significant results in this particular area. But when it comes to the inner mind, to the structure of the soul, and to questions of past and future lives, and to effectively solving various common mental issues that people frequently face, in the end, we still have to ultimately and truly rely on religion. So in my opinion, having a religious dimension to our lives, incorporating spiritual practices into our daily existence, is quite extremely important indeed. For example, in our Tibetan region, the profound spiritual practice of Buddhism has already become deeply and intrinsically integrated into the fabric of everyday life for its people. Not only is it truly just a way of life, but it also possesses a particularly profound depth. If dedicated intellectuals consistently devote themselves to diligently studying it, they can perpetually continue to meticulously seek out and uncover its most profound and fundamental aspects. So regarding these issues, I personally think it is very necessary for scholars from both East and West to discuss and exchange ideas about inner science and outer science. It is very necessary to have discussions and exchanges. Lastly, I want to say that nowadays, whether it's people themselves or the various phenomena they experience and truly feel, there are also many mysterious things in existence. Among the various and diverse events happening across the globe, there are also particularly mysterious and enigmatic ones. Generally, these phenomena cannot be adequately explained by conventional science or the current scope of human knowledge and understanding. However, these truly mysterious and unexplained things, when we look at different religions and their teachings, we find particularly obvious explanations for these matters. So, as someone who has studied Tibetan Buddhism for many years, all sorts of strange and unusual things that appear in the world today, all kinds of bizarre and peculiar events, are not rare at all to me. Why is that the case? Because for things that people find especially astonishing or truly very sensational indeed, we can actually find answers within Buddhism and other primary religious traditions that have ancient foundations. Therefore, when it comes to the science of life and its various aspects, we should approach our research with a fair and objective attitude. Nowadays, when some people mention religion, they call it superstition. They often say that it is an outdated and an entirely irrational field of academic study. Personally, I absolutely do not agree with this particular attitude at all. We should always endeavor to adopt a very fair, impartial, and objective attitude. Otherwise, that is not what being a scientist means. Because science truly requires objective facts and evidence. But when these objective facts are clearly in front of you, if you consistently and stubbornly refuse to acknowledge them, then you are already deliberately ignoring the fundamental and undeniable truth. This is certainly not the appropriate or objective attitude of a truly dedicated and open-minded scientific worker. So I sincerely hope that in the foreseeable future, we will not abandon or disregard valuable ancient cultures either. Because there is actually a certain specific value truly behind it. Just like now, perhaps it's precisely the same in Germany as well. In every country, within its unique traditions and customs, there are profound principles regarding people's behavior and minds, regarding morality and character, all of which contain very deep and profound reasoning. Just like Confucius in China, within the profound words, the thoughtful actions, and the ethical morals of Confucianism, there are indeed many valuable things that are very suitable for us and truly worth learning from. At the same time, we cannot abandon the present either. Humanity has already entered the 21st century. The acceptance and the invention of new things, as well as the truly significant importance of science, these also should certainly not be disparaged. Otherwise, we would have to close our eyes and cover our ears. Apart from that, there's nothing else we can do now. I think if we can bring together Eastern and Western cultures through mutual exchange and communication and combine modern culture with ancient traditional wisdom, Human beings should be able to progress toward a very bright and hopeful path ahead. In this regard, I believe today's prominent religious figures and dedicated scientific workers all have an inescapable responsibility. Thank you, everyone.